Welcome students. So today we are going to discuss about the memory management, and particularly we are going to discuss what do you mean by partitioning. Let me revise you how many types of memories are there. You know that CPU constantly communicates with memory. So the first memory that it communicates is the cache memory. So this type of memory is within the CPU. Then second type of memory, that is our main memory. So this is nothing but RAM and ROM. Then last one is the secondary storage memory, that is our hard disk or any other USB pen drive, anything like that. So these are the different types of memory. Now let us categorize them according to their access, according to their cost, like that. So as I have told you, cache memory is the fastest memory, but it has the lowest capacity, and it is the most costliest memory, and that is why it is in KB or MB. Then second type of memory, that is our main memory. So mainly I will be discussing about RAM in this. So mainly I will be discussing RAM here in this main memory, because you know that ROM we don't do anything, isn't it? It is a read only memory. So whenever we say RAM, whenever we say memory, always remember I am speaking about the RAM. Then the last memory is the secondary storage, that is our hard disk. You know that it is largest in size and slowest in speed, but it is the cheapest. And that is why we purchase hard disks which are now available in terabytes. So this is the categorization of the different types of memory. So mainly when we discuss memory management, we are speaking about the RAM. So whenever I say main memory, remember I am speaking about the RAM. RAM is the random access memory. Now let us move ahead and try to define what actually will come under the basic memory management. Now actually what happens is that this is a task which is carried out by the operating system, and what we are trying to do is that, like we have discussed in multi-programming, like in main memory, multiple processes are there in the main memory. And why actually we are putting multiple processes? Because you know that suppose if only one process is kept in the memory, and suppose it waits for the IO operation, then what will happen is that CPU will remain idle. So in the meantime, when one process is waiting for IO operation, other processes can utilize the CPU. So that is why this our operating system, what it does is that it puts a lot of processes into memory as much as possible, and result is what, that here in main memory, that is our RAM, like I am showing you here in the diagram. See, this is our RAM. Main memory means our RAM. So some part of operating system which is known as kernel will always remain in RAM, and it will always occupy some fixed portion of main memory, and the rest is shared by the multiple processes. So basic memory management is what? It is just a task which is carried out by the operating system and hardware, so that multiple user programs can be put in the main memory. And why we are doing this? Because we want that CPU should be utilized 100%. And in main memory, always remember some part of the operating system, that is the kernel, will always be there. And the remaining space will be given to the multiple user programs. Now next, we are going to study a concept called as memory partitioning. This is one method used for the memory management. So what it happens in this case is that the main memory is divided into small parts. These parts are nothing but the partitions. So basically there are two types. First one is known as the fixed partitioning, that is the static partitioning, and the second part is known as the variable partitioning, which is also known as the dynamic partitioning. So basically what we are doing here is that we are dividing main memory into several small parts. So what we are doing here is that we are dividing memory into several small parts, and these parts are nothing but the partitions. Now let us understand fixed partitioning and variable partitioning one by one. So fixed partitioning, what it is? So here what happens is that, as I have already told you in the earlier slide, that the main memory is partitioned into small parts known as the partitions. Now what happens is that this partition can be of equal size or unequal size. So let us see one diagram for this. Now consider, suppose like I have told you, some part of operating system will always be there in the RAM. Now consider this is 64 MB RAM, isn't it? So here how many partitions are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So there are two types of partition. One is known as equal partition and second is known as the unequal partition. So here say I have divided our complete main memory into 8 parts, and observe here every part is of 8 MB. Here M stands for the MB. Okay, so this is a 64 MB RAM, and in equal size partition what is happening is that this main memory is divided into 8 MB size of partition. Now consider unequal size of partition. So here see fixed size of operating system will remain. Then maybe say suppose I will create a partition of 2 MB, maybe 4 MB, 6 MB, then 8 MB twice, then 12 MB and 16 MB. Second type of partition is of the unequal size. So both is possible in this case. Now there are some advantages and disadvantages of this type of approach that also we are going to discuss. Now let us move to the next slide. So like I have told you, there will be some advantages. So advantage here is that it is very simple to implement. You simply divide the whatever memory is available to say suppose divide the main memory. Then it requires minimal operating system software and processing overhead as partitions are fixed. Like in our diagram, we have created fixed partitions of 8 MB size. But what is the disadvantage? Memory will be wastage. Now how memory will be wastage? Now say suppose there is one particular process, and second disadvantage is that there is some issue called as internal fragmentation, and this problem occurs in fixed partitioning. So this problem, like why we are saying that there will be memory wastage, because see, say suppose like in our earlier slide, what I have done was that created say suppose 8 MB of partition, isn't it? Like I have created 8 and 8. Now suppose if a particular job is there, job or process whatever, now say suppose it requires only 6 MB of RAM. Now what will happen? It will be placed in this one particular partition. First operating system will be there, right? And when the new job comes up, 6 MB, it will be put in the second partition, isn't it? So it requires only 6 MB. So what will happen? The size of this partition is 8 MB, isn't it? So what will happen? 2 MB of memory will be wasted. So this is nothing but the internal fragmentation. Now if you consider that, say suppose such types of jobs with varying needs of memory will come up, then this internal fragmentation will be keep on going, and this will lead to the memory wastage. So fixed partitioning What is the drawback? That there is an issue called as internal fragmentation, and because of which memory wastage will be there. And the third drawback is that there is a limited number of maximum number of active processes is fixed. Like say suppose in our earlier slide, so there were in the 64 MB RAM, isn't it? So one partition was for the operating system and only 7 partitions were available for the user program, isn't it? So at one particular moment, only 7 jobs could be put in the main memory, and that is why here we have written maximum number of active processes is fixed. Now let us move ahead and discuss variable partitioning. Now here the name is itself telling us what will be here. Here it is a dynamic kind of a partitioning, isn't it? So here I will explain you in much detail with the example. So here the number of partitions are not fixed, unlike the fixed partitioning. They are variable in length and number. And then each process is allocated exactly as much memory as it requires. Means say suppose if a process requires 6 MB, then it will be granted only 6 MB of RAM. And due to this, means see, suppose this particular approach solves our internal fragmentation, but it leads us to another kind of a problem that is known as external fragmentation. We will discuss this with an example. So what is the difference between fixed partitioning and variable partitioning? In fixed partitioning, the number of partitions are fixed. In variable partitioning, it varies, means it depends on what type of processes come, what is their memory requirement. And in static partitioning, internal fragmentation takes place, while in variable partitioning, external fragmentation takes place. And in this particular approach, since we are having a problem called as external fragmentation, we have to use a process called as compaction, so that this particular problem will be solved. And what actually this compaction does is that it shifts the processes so that they are contiguous and all free memory is in one block. So let us take one example to understand this. Now say suppose consider this example. Now here I have taken 5 processes P1 to P5, and what is their memory requirement is put in this second column. So say suppose P1 requires 20 MB of space, P2 requires 14 MB of space, P3 requires 18 MB. See, capital M stands for the MB. So this is a shortcut for writing MB, and I think you are aware of MB, KB, TB, GB, whatever, isn't it? That is a memory unit. So P3 requires 18 MB, P4 requires 8 MB, P5 requires 10 MB. So this is the memory requirement. Now if I just calculate this, so how much memory will be required? So it is 4 plus 8, 12 plus 8, 20. Then 4, 5, 6 and 1, 7. So in all 70 MB is required by this. Now let us see how these processes will be filled in our memory. Now let us draw the diagram of that main memory one by one. So see here, now consider our memory is of size 64 MB RAM. So usually the first MB will be stored for the kernel part of operating system, and the remaining 56 MB is available for the various user processes. So one by one we will be filling all these 5 processes in this 56 MB. Now in all total these require 70 MB, isn't it? So all processes cannot be placed all at once in this memory, isn't it? So that is why we have to go serially and we have to fit the various processes in this main memory. This is our RAM. See, whenever I mention main memory, I am only saying about the RAM. Now let us consider second diagram. So see, since 56 MB of RAM is available, so first say suppose if P1 has approached the system, so its 20 MB could be granted, isn't it? And that is what the meaning of dynamic partitioning is there, isn't it? That it will give whatever memory the particular process requires in dynamic partitioning example, isn't it? So 20 MB will be given to it. Then after giving 20 MB, remaining is 36 MB, isn't it? So let us see, next process is 14 MB. So we can fill this particular 14 MB in this particular remaining 36 MB, and after giving the 14 MB to process P2, the remaining is 22 MB. Now next in 22 MB, so again we can say we can fill this third process, that is the 18 MB. So we can give the space to 3 processes. So see here, now only remaining memory is 4 MB. What actually this process is known as, see, memory is available, and what is our next process? It is 8 MB. So the requirement of P4 cannot be fulfilled by this particular main memory. Why? Because 8 is greater than 4 MB, isn't it? So this is known as external fragmentation. Means there is space, but still it cannot fulfill the requirement of a particular process. What could be the approach to solve this? So approach could be that we have to take out one process from the main memory and then allocate the space to P4 process. So let us see how we can do this. So suppose if I take outside the P2 process, means I will remove this P2 process from the main memory. See here, empty space is there here. And then what I will do next is that I will give this process to P4. Okay. So see here, out of the 14 MB, 8 MB, whichever was the requirement of P4, that would be given to it. Let us consider, say suppose priority of P4 is more than this particular P2 process, and that is why we have removed the process P2 from the main memory and given that particular memory space to the P4 process. Now this could be one approach to allocate the main memory. Means here what is happening is that dynamically the partitions of the main memory are changing. Now say suppose P1 has completed its task and then it will release the memory occupied by it. So now 20 MB is now available. So if the 20 MB is free now, then we could give this to, say suppose either P2 or P5, isn't it? So let us see what happens here. So we can put here the process P2, and then after execution of P2, then which process is remaining? P5. So say suppose after execution, if any of the particular process releases the memory, then this P5 will be then put into the main memory. So here what is happening here is that dynamically the size of the partition is changing as per the requirement of the process. And say suppose if a particular process priority is higher, then whatever process is already existing in the main memory, that will be removed from the main memory, and that space can be given to another process. So main drawback of this dynamic partitioning is that, as I have already explained you, only drawback here could be the external fragmentation. So like we have discussed advantages and disadvantages. So let us see what are the advantages of variable partitioning. So here it does not means it solves the problem of internal fragmentation, isn't it? Why? Because memory is allocated as per the need of the process, isn't it? Then a more efficient use of main memory can be done using this variable partitioning. And what is the disadvantage? It suffers from external fragmentation, like I have shown you in the particular example. And what is the solution for this? It is nothing but the compaction. Now I will explain you what is compaction. So say suppose this, let us consider one simple example. Continuing the example that I have just shown you on the earlier slide. So let me explain you the concept of compaction. So consider the diagram. So see here, the process P2 occupies 14 MB, process P4 occupies 8 MB, and process P3 occupies 18 MB. So how much space is remaining? Here a fragment of 6 MB is remaining. Here a fragment of 6 MB is there, and here a fragment of 4 MB is available. So if in such situation a process P5 is there whose memory requirement is 10 MB. So if you see it, so we have available 6 plus 6, 12 plus 4, 16 MB of free space. But still, if you try to put this P5 in any of these three places, it is not possible because memory requirement of 10 MB is more than this 4 MB, 6 MB and 6 MB. So in such situation, what the system is going to do is that, since this is a typical example of external fragmentation, what system is going to do is that it will shift the processes in such a way so that they will be in contiguous memory space, and all this empty space that will be then collectively grouped together in the last block, and that particular block would be given to the new process. So this is nothing but your compaction. So let us see how actually it is done. So like I have explained you, this process P4 will be shifted upward, process P3 will be shifted upwards, and now notice here 16 MB of free space that was otherwise fragmented is now at the bottom of this, and now it is possible to put this P5 in this space, isn't it? So this is how the problem of external fragmentation could be solved by the compaction. We will discuss one more time the fragmentation. So like I have already explained you, there are two types of fragmentation. One is internal, one is external. Then internal fragmentation takes place in static partitioning because memory space is wasted. Like I have given you example. If partition size is of 8 MB and if your process requires 6 MB, isn't it? So what will happen is that the 2 MB space will be wasted, isn't it? So that is known as internal fragmentation. And what happens is that when it occurs, if block of data is smaller than the partition size, then internal fragmentation takes place. Like I have given you this in this particular example. Then external fragmentation, it actually occurs when memory partition is available and unused but too small for any waiting process, that is process size is greater than the size of the available partition. Like I already given you an example that memory space is available, but maybe the whatever is the requirement of the coming process that is quite larger, and whatever is available that is too small, that is known as the external fragmentation.